Let us pray. O Lord, we give thanks for the bounty of our province, our land, our resources, and our people. We pledge ourselves to act as good stewards on behalf of all Albertans. Amen.
Introduction of visitors. Presenting petitions. Reading and receiving petitions. Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motions. Introduction of bills. Tabling returns and reports.
The annual report for the year 1988, the Alberta Association of Architects, registered architects, and licensed interior designers.
Introduction of special guests.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Speaker, approximately 5 years ago, the Honorable Member for Wainwright and myself had the honor of doing the official twinning of Hildesheim, Germany with Grand Center, Alberta. Can you hear me now? Maybe I'll quit using the mic then. Mr. Speaker.
Hold on for, it's working now. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker.
Try this. This one's working.
Thank you, Connie. Mr. Speaker, your modern technology tends to break down when you most need it. As I started to indicate, Mr. Speaker, approximately 5 years ago, the Honorable Member for Wainwright and myself had the honor of doing the official twinning of Hildesheim, Germany with Grand Center, Alberta on a trip to Germany. What the two communities have in common is that they both exist in close proximity to a Canadian Air Force base, Hildesheim to Baden-Baden, Grand Center to Cold Lake Forces Base Medley. What they don't have in common is their age. Grand Center is 35 years old. Hildesheim, and I was presented this book by the Burgomaster this morning, is 1,200 years old. But I would like to introduce to the House the Burgomaster of Hildesheim, Germany, Dieter Rockel, who is here with 50 members from his community and is being received by the Honorable, His Worship Mayor Ray Coates and his wife Adele of Grand Center and 6 of their community members. They're on about a 10-day visit to our province. I trust you will have a good time, and I'd ask that you stand and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Ministerial statements. Oral question period.
Position.
Mr. Speaker, to the Treasurer, Deficit Dick. Mr. Speaker, this government has brought Alberta to a point where our current deficit is higher than all the other provincial and territorial governments put together, Mr. Speaker. And how did we get here under these so-called business managers, Mr. Speaker? Well, number one, we gave up control of oil prices as they were falling. Number two, we gave away more than the current value of the trust fund to oil companies in 7 years. And number three, we refused, Mr. Speaker, to make wealthy individuals and corporations pay their fair share of tax.
Shame.
My question to the Treasurer is this: what kind of fiscal management is this? Give away the store to the corporate sector and have a combined deficit greater than all the provinces in 1 year. What kind of management is that?
Poor.
Mr. Speaker, obviously, Mr. Speaker, they didn't listen to your prayer today when you talked about this bountiful province. Strengthen the people, strengthen the resources, and I guess strengthen the government, who is inferred in that. But, Mr. Speaker, I think a little lesson here might be timely for the member from Norwood. He's got an academic background. He knows about statistics. He knows how sometimes these things can be put together in a different fashion. I know, Mr. Speaker, yesterday I was puzzled by the Stats Can announcement when they suggested our deficit was of that order, $2 to $2.2 billion. As I said, Mr. Speaker, I couldn't reconcile that figure. My colleagues here in government were surprised by it. Well, it's good that the member from wherever it is can reconcile it, because you know what, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, when I inquired to Stats Canada yesterday, they said, you know what? We can't reconcile that either. And so, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to read a little letter I just happen to have here today from Stats Canada. And they have said, Mr. Speaker, further to the review of the data presented yesterday, we want to revise our estimate. The Alberta government deficit should be revised downward in the order of $500 million, Mr. Speaker. $500 million revision, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the information we presented in this House is in fact been confirmed by Stats Canada. And you know the rules, Mr. Speaker. You know the rules here. When I quote from something during question period, I have to table it. I guess, Mr. Speaker, I have no recourse but to table it, to show that Stats Canada made a mistake. What does that mean, Mr. Speaker? What does that mean?
Order, please. I believe if the Honourable the Treasurer has referred to a letter, he really should table it.
Mr. Speaker, to the Treasurer, the fact is, no matter what figure he wants to put on it, our deficit is greater than all the other provinces put together, and that's not performance, Mr. Speaker. And on top of that, that's just part of it, Mr. Speaker.
Please, order. We must have the question, Honourable Leader of Opposition. There's supposed to be a preamble to the main question, but not to the supplemental.
Mr. Speaker, we have a $10 billion deficit, consolidated debt, Mr. Speaker, and the people of Alberta want to know what concrete plans are we going to have in this province to deal with that $10 billion consolidated debt, Mr. Speaker. That's performance by this government.
There he goes again, Mr. Speaker. Deep in the heart of the blues country. Here he is talking about not having a chance to recover. Mr. Speaker, I want to talk about the opportunity. Yesterday I did talk about the superb sunrise that's taking place in this province, because in fact that's what's happening, Mr. Speaker. They don't like us to recite the good numbers to them, the fact that new investment is coming to this province, the fact that unemployment is the lowest level ever, Mr. Speaker, and the fact that the retail sales are strong. It's that kind of confidence that we have in the economy, Mr. Speaker, that will allow us to survive. I was looking at the screen today with respect to oil and gas prices, Mr. Speaker. After 6 months, 6.5 months into the year, our oil price is now trading above the $20 level. I was in New York on Friday talking to our advisors there. They suggest to us, Mr. Speaker, that in fact that's a modest assumption, that the price of oil will continue and will continue upwards in 1990, Mr. Speaker. That's the kind of plan that we have for this province. And that's the kind of opportunity the people of this province have, Mr. Speaker, and that's the kind of opportunity and the kind of challenge and the kind of action that this government's going to present to the people of Alberta. We're not the naysayers and the doom and gloom people and the blues brothers. We're the opportunity people. We're going to make this province work, Mr. Speaker.
Sometimes I think he even believes his own rhetoric, Mr. Speaker.
It looks that way.
Mr. Speaker, this province does have great potential to get rid of this spendthrift conservative government, Mr. Speaker. And my question to this minister is this. Will the Treasurer finally admit that this government created the deficit by catering to the corporate sector and their rich friends, and to deal with this deficit, they're going to have to cut back on the average people with rising taxes in the next couple of years, Mr. Speaker? Will they admit the truth?
Mr. Speaker, it's a good thing it's his last question, because his blood pressure must be gone off the scale here somewhere. Speaker, now we would not do anything which would defeat the kind of objectives that we have carefully outlined for the people of Alberta to maintain the high priority in education and health, provide the kind of incentives that are necessary to target the difficult situations that we face in this province from time to time. But let's remember, Mr. Speaker, that this government has come back and provide a course of action to balance the budget in 1991-92 after a disastrous recession. the highest deficit, about $3.5 billion. We're recovering, Mr. Speaker. We have put the plan forward, Mr. Speaker, and we know it's going to work. It's a balanced plan. It's not going to cut back in those needed social programs, but certainly, Mr. Speaker, it's going to drive the private sector to do greater things in this province, as is now happening. And that's the kind of message the opposition does not like to hear, Mr. Speaker, because it's happening. The statistics are there proving it. Mr. Speaker, we have a view of the future. We believe in this province, and we're going to make it happen, Mr. Speaker.
This is better than the funny papers, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, right.
But from Deficit Dick to the Premier, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's no wonder that Albertans are becoming increasingly cynical about their government when almost every day there's new evidence that ministers of the Crown have little understanding of what ethics in government is all about. Mr. Speaker, one minister tried to deny the role he and his brother played in giving taxpayers money to a group that includes their mutual friends. Another minister admits to bending the rules by overriding his department to give money to a group of which he is an honorary director. And yet another minister votes in cabinet on a proposal to assist a company he holds shares in, and there's no rules that says he can't, Mr. Speaker.
Shame.
To the Premier, as the leader of the government, does the Premier consider it acceptable behavior when his ministers put their interests and their friends' interests ahead of the interests of average Albertans?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, then, I guess the Premier's in his lethargic mood. If he doesn't consider that, then, Mr. Speaker, what is he going to do about the ministers that have been talked about? Has he called them in? Has he talked to them? Is he going to bring in a new code of ethics in, Mr. Speaker, to deal with these serious matters?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is listening to allegations made by members of the opposition. There's no reason in the world to accept those as fact. As a matter of fact, today already, in the lead up to his question, he's already made 3 allegations, all of which are incorrect.
Right.
So, Mr. Speaker, I only remind the honourable member that this legislature has dictated the rules for itself in a document, the Legislative Assembly Act. That was passed by the legislature. And it happened, Mr. Speaker, not very long ago. I didn't happen to be a member then, but it was, as I recall, a very exhaustive study. People who were here in government tell me that it took a great deal of debate, a lot of thought, and then the Legislative Assembly Act was changed, strengthened, and provides the conflict of interest rules under which members of this legislature are guided.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that's a totally inadequate answer, Mr. Speaker. This legislature with a huge majority can pass whatever they want. That does not make acceptable behavior by his ministers, Mr. Speaker.
Here, here.
And what I want to know then, is this Premier saying to the people of Alberta through this Assembly that any of the actions recently, including the 3 that I quoted, that this is acceptable behavior on the part of his ministers as he's saying that to the people of Alberta?
Shame.
Mr. Speaker, I absolutely am, yes. And I want the honourable members to know we will not accept innuendo and allegations by them when they are unable to come up with other matters of policy in a legislature. I know they're having a bad legislative session, and therefore they switch to personal attacks. But they may well. I draw to their attention, Mr. Speaker, this legislation that is already before the House. The honourable member talked about shares, for instance, the Alberta Energy Company. It's clear the legislation that has been passed by this legislature covering the Alberta Energy Company. And I draw to members' attention what it says, because I think it's a serious matter, and he's raised it, and I think members should know. The right of a member of the Legislative Assembly to participate in any debate or to vote on any question relating to any matter affecting the Alberta Energy Company is not affected by the fact that any voting shares of the company are held in the name or right of or for the use or benefit of that member. Now, Mr. Speaker, that legislation was passed 1980, It was passed, Mr. Speaker, after a great deal of thought by the legislature at the time. Now, one other thing, Mr. Speaker, I want to draw to the honourable leader's attention, that this matter has been raised in the House before in a general way, and on June the 30th, I said that one of the things, having come back to government and knowing some of the changes that face members of the Legislative Assembly, that I am conducting a review. I've made that commitment to the member for Edmonton Gold Bar, a review of all the conflict of interest rules that we live by. I made that commitment on June the 30th, I believe. So that is also going on, Mr. Speaker. But I think the members of the opposition do not bring credit to this Assembly when they are unable, to debate on matters of policy, and therefore...
Keep going. You got him. Order, please. Order, please. Order.
Unable to debate on matters of policy, Mr. Speaker, and therefore try to distract from their inability by casting innuendos on people's reputations. They should be ashamed of themselves.
They should be ashamed of themselves. The honourable member for Edmonton Glengarry.
Mr. Speaker, the Premier has read the section from the Alberta Energy Act which allows cabinet ministers to own AEC shares and which allows them to make decisions at cabinet table that might be very favorable to AEC, to its shareholders, and if they're shareholders, to themselves. Now, Mr. Speaker, 2 years ago, the Alberta cabinet decided to sell gas rights to the rich Suffield block to AEC for a portion of its actual value, true value. Certainly a significant factor, Mr. Speaker, in the fact that the shares have risen some 37% since that time. Shares held by 5 cabinet ministers, 5 ministers of the Crown, 2 of whom are sitting here today. Mr. Speaker, apparently no thought was given to putting those rights up for tender to the highest bidder. My question is to the Premier. Can the Premier tell us why these gas rights were not put out to the open market by Cabinet, especially when the government knew that ministers were at the table making decisions which affected both themselves and AEC financially?
June 87. Mr. Speaker, the honourable member was not clear on which rights and when this happened. So would he just repeat the timing of his question?
50% of there was a sale in 1975, Mr. Premier, for $54 million, and a subsequent agreement that took it to $105 million to sell off the balance of the rights in the Suffield block. That's the issue that I'm addressing you to.
Well, Mr. Speaker, now I recognize the honourable member is referring to. When Alberta Energy Company was first established, there was a policy statement made in the legislature regarding those assets that would be placed in the hands of Alberta Energy Company, because at the time there was a view, a strong feeling among Albertans, which they have supported very strongly in subsequent years, that they would like to not only be able to participate in the oil and gas industry through their ownership and royalties, but rather to also be able to participate through the risk and reward possibilities of owning shares in a uniquely Alberta company. Therefore, the government responded to that feeling of Albertans, and the Alberta Energy Company was created. Shares were sold to Albertans with the knowledge that the various assets would be placed in the company. And then the Alberta government stepped back and allowed management to run the company. The matter the honourable member is discussing, which is a completion of the sale of the natural gas, was contemplated in 1974 and 5 because it was unable to place an interest, a value on that natural gas. And therefore, a rather unique way of evaluating it was set up. And then it was concluded after a value could be more clearly established. So, Mr. Speaker, those things were all contemplated in 1974 and 5, and it was merely following through on that commitment.
Well, Mr. Premier, you haven't answered my question. Let me try this one. Are you aware, sir, Mr. Premier, are you aware that the market analysts, through their newsletters, declared that the sale price of that portion, that 50%, that second portion of the agreement, has a value in their eyes of several times greater than the government agreed to? Are you aware of that, sir?
Mr. Speaker, I'm amazed that the honourable member will ask us to accept the recommendations of market analysts. I remember on October the 19th, not long ago, when they were telling us this stock market is going up and had the biggest drop in the history of the stock market. So let's not have us making our judgments on the basis of stock market analysts, please.
Well, I'm not getting the answers, Mr. Speaker, so I'll try my last one. I'd like to ask the Premier to explain why he defends a highly unusual section of the AEC Act which allows cabinet ministers holding AEC shares to vote, for example, to sell a $400 million asset, that's the value that these analysts put on it, owned by all of the people of Alberta, for just a small fraction of its actual value to AEC and, of course, to the shareholders, including the ministers who've benefited.
Mr. Speaker, as I've said earlier in the House today, the Alberta Energy Company Act was not passed by me, it was passed by this legislature. It is clearly an act and the law of the province of Alberta. And surely the laws of the province of Alberta are what we should be guided by, not some market analyst estimate of something. And the honourable member should surely know that the background of the Alberta Energy Company has been a resounding success for Albertans and never been matched anywhere in Canada.
The honourable member for Highwood, followed by Vegreville and Goldbar.
Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Honourable Minister of Health. It's been variously reported in radio, television, and in the daily press in southern Alberta that Oilfields Hospital in Black Diamond is closing down beds, closing down a wing, similar kinds of comments. This is an issue of importance to my constituents in a well-patronized hospital like Oilfields. Surely the Minister of Health is not acting on the Glengarry dictum on rural hospitals. Would the Minister assure us, people in my constituency and this Assembly, that beds will not be closed down in Oilfields Hospital?
Mr. Speaker, I can certainly confirm that for the honourable member. What in fact is happening is that because of a structural difficulty in the hospital, which the Minister of Public Works, Supply and Services may well wish to address, my interest is in terms of those patients to move them out of the hospital while improvements are made to the hospital and the hospital is repaired. It applies only to the long-term wing, and the 23 patients who are currently there, as of an agreement this morning reached with the hospital board, will be transferred to the Rockyview Hospital in Calgary while the repairs are effected and then returned to the hospital at the end of that time.
Okay. Thank you for that assurance. Honourable Minister, is your department making any provision for the inconvenience for long-term care patients, the staff, volunteers, visitors, to minimize the inconvenience at being at some distance from home in a strange building with new caregivers?
Mr. Speaker, certainly it is difficult when patients need to be transferred from one facility to another under circumstances like this, and I think with long-term care patients, even more care has to be taken to ensure that those patients and their families are disrupted in the least possible way. I applaud the efforts of both the Oilfields Hospital and the Rockyview Hospital to try and make the transfer as smooth as possible. As well, the patients will be kept virtually intact as a unit once they are moved to the Rocky View Hospital. The existing staff in the Oilfields Hospital will be transferred along with those patients to the Rocky View Hospital, and hopefully the transfer and the stay in the hospital, hopefully as short as possible, will be the least disruptive possible.
Mr. Speaker, then my final supplement I'd like to direct to the Honourable Minister of Public Works, Supply and Services. Is this Minister's Department prepared to offer any assistance, financial or otherwise, to the local board of Oilfields Hospital?
Mr. Speaker, there has been some background work done on this in recent weeks, and until the actual patients have left the hospital and been relocated, it'll be difficult for us to get a final assessment in terms of what actually must be done. We are working in consort with the Oilfields General Hospital Board, and as all members know, while responsibility and ownership for the hospital rests with the hospital board throughout the province of Alberta, funding for and compensation and building of hospitals rests with the province of Alberta. And the honourable member can be assured that Alberta Public Works Supply and Services, the government of Alberta, will be involved.
The honourable member for Vegreville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Instead of making a real commitment to long-term job creation and economic diversification in Alberta, this government spends its time using taxpayers' dollars to make secret deals with their wealthy and powerful friends. They've given Peter Pocklington a $6 million loan to build a plant that the Minister of Economic Development says isn't being built, and that the Minister of Agriculture says doesn't need to be built anyway. They don't know where the money's gone, they don't know what it's being used for, and they don't know how to get it back. Mr. Speaker, if ignorance is bliss, these Dukes of Hazzard must be one happy pair. I'd like to ask the Minister of Economic Development why Cabinet, on the same day that Peter Pocklington's $55 million loan guarantee was approved, changed the rules to make it possible to hide both the source and the details of the loan.
Mr. Speaker, as usual, the honourable member's facts are incorrect, and I'm happy to indicate to him, as I've indicated to him on a consistent basis since he has raised this issue, that the loan and the loan guarantee were for multi-purposes, as were indicated in the press release when it was done by the previous Minister of Economic Development. We wanted to make sure that there were proper food processing facilities. We wanted to make sure that they were of a world-class nature so that our farmers would have excellent facilities in which to sell their products to. In addition to that, we wanted to preserve and increase job creation within this province. Two things that we have done, Mr. Speaker, and in the event, and I will repeat it for the honourable member also, in the event that there is any violation of the agreement, the principals who have taken out the loan guarantee have to sign a declaration indicating that they are living up to the agreement. In the event that there is a violation of that agreement, the full force of the law will come to bear.
Mr. Speaker, I'm talking about changes made by Cabinet, and he was there, to the Guarantee and Indemnity Amendment regulations of the Department of Economic Development and Trade. If they can't bend the rules, they'll amend the rules. And I'd like to ask him, why did Cabinet feel it was necessary to give Mr. Pocklington, in essence, a blank check for this loan guarantee by changing the regulation only moments before approving these sweetheart deals?
Mr. Speaker, I recognize the honourable member has no concern for the farming population and them having proper food processing facilities. I also recognize, Mr. Speaker, that the honourable member has no concern for the creation of jobs and the quality of life within this province. But I should point out to the honourable member, it is not a sweetheart deal. It is a commercial agreement with a corporation within the province of Alberta so that we can create jobs, so that we can have proper food processing facilities, something that we care about within this province, and obviously the honourable member does not.
Mr. Speaker, if the minister can't start providing some answers to these questions and sort it out, Albertans are going to be left holding the bag.
That's right. And a big one.
A $67 million bag, Mr. Speaker. Can the minister tell us who the government is trying to protect by making these important and unnecessary changes to the rules only moments before approving the loan guarantees to Peter Pocklington? Answer that question.
Mr. Speaker, again, and I recognize one cannot say that the honourable member is not telling the truth, so I won't say it even though he's doing it. But I should point out, Mr. Speaker, again, the honourable member's facts are incorrect. He indicates $67 million in one statement when he knows full well that that is not a fact. A loan guarantee of some $55 million has been offered, a drawdown Mr. Speaker, if they don't wish to have the answers, I'm more than happy to sit down, but I should point out...
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Gold Bar.
Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on Friday, the 30th of June, the Premier committed to the House to undertake a review of the conduct of the Minister of Agriculture in relation to grants provided to the Sandy Sea Ranch. Since that time, Mr. Speaker, an interesting new dimension has been added. The Minister himself has freely admitted to interfering in the departmental decision-making their process to ensure that funding was provided to the Sandy Sea, even though that organization and its project didn't qualify under the department rules. Not innuendo, Mr. Speaker. The Minister himself admitted it. It's most astonishing, however, to note the new dimension. The Minister conceded that he not only bent the rules to help that ranch, but also that he has made it a practice of his to bend the rules whenever he feels like it. Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Premier. In light of the Minister's most astonishing and astounding admission that this is a practice and that he believes it is right and appropriate to do so, is the Premier now prepared to fire that Minister?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Legislative Assembly Act doesn't cover this kind of activity, and the Premier well knows that. Now, the government clearly believes through this kind of behavior that laws and regulations apply only to other people and not to themselves. Can the Premier then tell the Assembly what specific guidelines he has in place governing the conduct of ministers of the Crown in adhering to their own regulations? What's in place, Mr. Premier?
Good question.
Mr. Speaker, obviously the responsibilities of ministers of cabinet are to serve the government and the people of Alberta the best of their ability. I might say, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member knows this from having served in public life in decision-making opportunities in the past, and any who have do as well, that you do not just write something or declare something to be so and then fit all the people of Alberta in or out, black and white. As a matter of fact, members of the opposition have approached me to say, listen, my constituent doesn't quite have that problem or doesn't quite fit those rules, doesn't quite fit what we hear the policy guidelines are, but surely you're a compassionate government, surely, and members have asked me, surely you could help a constituent of mine. And obviously, Mr. Speaker, there has to be a discretion on elected people so that surely they make sure they work for the best interest of the people of Alberta. We could otherwise just hire a bunch of computers, run statistics into it, and feed in the people of Alberta, and they'll get either accepted or kicked out. What kind of nonsense is that? For crying out loud, these are elected people using judgment and discretion, and surely that's the way to serve the people of Alberta.
Judgment discretion here, Mr. Speaker. We're talking about somebody who, by his own admission, bends the rules. Mr. Speaker, once more to the Premier. Mr. Speaker, will the Premier commit today to implement a solid code of ethics which will prevent ministers from being able to ignore their own specific rules and regulations at their whim, without any fear of reprisal or discipline? Will he give us some guidelines that we understand that we have a fair process that works for everybody and not just friends?
Actually, Mr. Speaker, we've dealt at some length with this in the legislature today. And as I've told other members, I repeat for the honourable member, and it may well be the Minister of Agriculture will want to add to my reply. that we have a very strong set of conflict of interest rules, and that they're determined by this legislature. We also have the conflict of interest guidelines that the cabinet lives by. But at the same time, and I must say, and with due recognition to the honourable member, that I have given her a commitment, a respect for her as an honourable friend, that I will review the conflict of interest guidelines to make sure that on some regular basis that they are always reflecting current needs. But nevertheless, Mr. Speaker, I would never have a minister of the Crown always able to just say to members of the Legislative Assembly or to members of Albertans at large, no, you don't fit, forget it, you're out. Because I want our members to show the compassion, the flexibility, the judgment and discretion to work for the people of Alberta. That's what we're going to do. We will review the conflict of interest matters to make sure they are up to date, but I ask the honourable members, don't try and cast those kind of innuendos. They don't bring any credit to them.
Mr. Speaker, on supplementary information.
You just don't like the truth, do you?
I would like to share some information with the honourable member for Edmonton Gold Bar under the Alberta Environment Employment Program. Section E5 says final authority for project approval is vested in the Minister of Manpower or his delegate, and I was simply exercising the rules of that, the guidelines of that program, and overruling an interdepartmental recommendation.
The honourable member for Wainwright.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is related to the petition that I filed 2 weeks ago on Friday on the extradition of Charles Ning. And in view of the fact that Charles Ning has created a policy, or has brought forth a policy here in Canada that it's a haven for U.S. criminals. What is our provincial government doing about this?
I assume your question is directed to the Honourable the Attorney General. Is it?
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to correct the honourable member for Wainwright in his allegation that Alberta or anything we do in the justice system makes it a haven for criminals from another location. The matter of extradition is a federal jurisdiction, but perhaps I could clarify that in this particular instance with Mr. Ng, he was incarcerated in Alberta because of being found guilty of an armed robbery in the city of Calgary, and on that basis became a resident of one of Mr. Fowler, the Solicitor General's institutions, and the proceedings went on from there.
Thank you. I would like to know then, why can we not, as a provincial government, then make representation to the federal government that criminals will be returned to their homeland to face charges there first before charging them here?
Mr. Speaker, again, the jurisdiction for criminal law is federal. Also, on an extradition basis or inter-country matter, again, the jurisdiction would be federal. In this particular instance, Mr. Ng was incarcerated in Alberta. The application is then made for extradition. We have, of course, the first jurisdiction because of the charge that's in Alberta, and the process that is allowed for all of us, and I think a protection for all of us, is a number of appeals or procedures that go through, and whether you are incarcerated for a detestable instance or whether it's something that's not, we all have those procedures, and I think it's probably a saving grace that we have those procedures to go through and then the final decision is made by the federal government.
Yes. As Charles Ning has been here for going on almost 3 years now, when can we expect something to the trial to be completed then?
Mr. Speaker, as I understand this matter is the final right of Mr. Ng is being heard very shortly, and I think before the 89 is out, the Federal Minister of Justice will be handing down his ruling.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Jasper Place.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question to the Minister of the Environment. Alberta's cut-and-paste environmental process took another turn today. I understand the Minister considered the appointment of some religious figures, but instead came up with a list of 4 individuals and 4 alternates for the Citizens Review Panel on the Mitsubishi Honshu project. The Federal Conflict of Interest guidelines and procedures for members of environmental assessment panels have been published to ensure that the impartiality of panel members is beyond doubt. I wonder if the Minister can assure the House that the review board, whose members he announced today, will meet or exceed the federal standards in terms of conflict of interest and other procedures.
I think that, Mr. Speaker, they're good-thinking, honest individuals who were nominated by their respective municipalities, municipal jurisdictions that were duly elected. And I certainly don't question the integrity of any of them. I personally don't know them other than meeting them for the first time last night. We had before us their background material. All of them came to us as supporters of the community, very, very involved in the community, concerned about their community. And on that basis, the recommendation was taken to Cabinet. My colleagues in Cabinet approved the nominations, and I think that we have the basis of a very, very good public review panel, with the addition of the federal government representatives, and those representatives will be of the federal government's choice, and a chairman to be selected jointly. I think that there will be good balance to this review board that will soon, in about 4 or 5 weeks, embark on one of the most extensive public review processes relative to a pulp mill project in this province.
Well, the question with respect was whether the panel was to meet or exceed the federal guidelines order, but perhaps the Minister would like to get to know some of his panelists. One has endorsed the mill. Mr. Speaker, everybody wants to wear your robes today. I don't know why. How can the Minister justify appointing panel members? One's a card-carrying PC, one's already endorsed the mill in an advertisement, one of the alternates has done the same. Not only that, but some of them stand to benefit financially from a favorable ruling. How can he justify those appointments?
Well, Mr. Speaker, a member of the panel is also an Indian chief, and my gosh, I didn't go around and ask them to open their wallets and show me their political cards. I mean, maybe it's of importance to Mr. McGuinness. I didn't go through advertising flyers to find out if they had took out an ad some months ago relative to a particular project. Lots of people do lots of things at times in their lives that doesn't necessarily make them wicked or evil people. These are good thinking, honest, average Albertans. I would think that the NDP opposition should be mighty pleased that we have selected good thinking, honest, average Albertans.
Well, the question does have to do with the financial relationship, but the Minister also announced that he's going to withhold any and all funding from the Friends of the Athabasca group, a local environmental group which has some concerns about the project. Given that the Minister has decided to use the funding for a personal political vendetta, why doesn't he turn the money over to the Environment Council of Alberta and send the bill to the companies?
Well, You know, you talk, Mr. Speaker, about rudeness and innuendo and very, very shameful kinds of tactics. We've just heard the absolute ultimate. The absolute ultimate.
Order. Could we please have quiet now so the minister can finish his reply and we might get on to the next question.
Mr. Speaker, the money under the guidelines was to be given to the municipalities. The municipalities were in turn to provide intervenor funding. I have given an undertaking personally to make sure that the most affected area, the area of prosperity, would be given intervenor funding. I have been given assurance by the federal government when they participate in their in the exercise that they will provide additional intervenor funding. But I am not going to give funding to groups that perhaps have environmental concerns to address, but perhaps have political concerns to address as well. And where do you draw the line? We can start with Friends of the Peace and the Friends of the Wapiti and Friends of the North and the South Friends of the North and the East Friends of the West and the West Friends of the East, the Friends of John McInnes and the Friends of everyone else. I mean, we would go broke.
Honourable member for Westlock Sturgeon.
Geez, that's a fast one. Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question today is to the Honourable Minister of Agriculture, at least one portion of it. Mr. Speaker, starting way back in the middle 80s, the Holgerson dairies, or Rise and Milk, have been trying to get permission for 4-liter jugs, to market 4-liter jugs, and they've had a difficult time. Even I was against them a couple of years ago, but not being a Tory, I was able to see the light and make a proper decision and come out in their support. And Mr. Speaker, what's concerning me now is the unholy delay, since the past Minister of Agriculture said he was going to recommend to the board that they come out with 4-liter jugs, and also since the report has been in his hands from the Dairy Board for over a month now, can the minister come out now and endorse the use of 4-liter jugs?
Four-letter word. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to see that the member for Westlock Sturgeon has recognized that he's done a complete about-face on this issue, from being adamantly opposed to now being adamantly supportive. I think I should share with the honourable member that what we're talking about with the dairy industry in Canada and Alberta is a highly regulated industry where those who produce milk are controlled, where you ship your milk is controlled, where the price you get for your milk is set by the Public Utilities Board, the price the processor gets for his milk is set by the board, the minimum price the retailer may charge the consumer is set by the board, container sizes are set by the board. As the honourable member is aware, this matter went once to the Alberta Dairy Control Board and was rejected. Holgerson Dairy appealed it, and it came forward this spring with a positive recommendation and some expressions of environmental concern that had to be addressed. We are currently addressing those issues, and I'm tempted at this point in time to put forward a recommendation that we proceed with the 4-liter jugs and put them under the Beverage Container Act.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm dumbfounded, so... Obviously, Mr. Speaker, Clyde has been talking to Bonnie, and he's going to go ahead with some answers. Then why, if that is so, he's going to recommend the 4-liter jugs. Why, if that is so, has he asked Mr. Holgerson to reconsider the whole 4-liter question in order for some sort of a bribe that he can get better credit relations?
Mr. Speaker, what the honourable member is suggesting is totally false. Mr. Holgerson has been aware for at least 10 days that I'm considering going forward with the 4-liter jug and exploring the possibility of putting the plastic jugs of all sizes under the, we're discussing that with Environment as to the possibility of putting them under the Beverage Container Act.
The time for question period has expired. May we have unanimous consent to complete this line of questioning? Agreed?
Mr. Speaker, I wasn't around to see the conversion of Saul on his way to Tarsus, but this will do just as well. Could the Minister of Agriculture then tell us when Hoggerson will be able to use the 4-liter jug?
The when is whenever an order in council is passed.
Before we proceed to the point of order raised by the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, could we have unanimous consent to revert to the introduction of special guests? I'm sorry, and I must apologize to the Honourable Member for Edmonton Whitemud, that I did not see him ask. The Honourable Member for Edmonton Whitemud.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure, Mr. Speaker, to members of the House to introduce a very special guest that is visiting our fine city from Switzerland. Her name is Mrs. Flora Bernhards-Grutter. She is visiting this city, and she is specifically visiting with Elizabeth Say. They are presently in the members' gallery. I would ask that they stand and that they be given the traditional warm welcome by this House.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition on a point of order.
Well, Mr. Speaker, seeing